Yeah.
Alright, I can't say I'm as prepared as Matt was with like all my notebook stuff because it's pretty evident through me actually doing a bit of experimenting right now that my design process for this piece has been very evolutionary. It constantly seems to be changing, and even just designing it, I don't think I drew it up at all. Design-wise, I started off by doing like a veneer I used some scrap veneer and made like a little model. It did look pretty similar to this, so kind of got that right. But yeah, this is sort of where I've ended up at. Got a couple CAD models I can show you guys. So if you just want to pass this around, that's what the final piece is going to look like. Yeah, so I really wanted to focus on curvature with this piece. I think initially I was more envisioning something a bit more organic, but as I've done these laminations, I've sort of fallen a bit more in love with just how simple they are, and they kind of just combine into like a greater structure. Yeah, so I've sort of enjoyed this process, and yeah, I've liked how it's kind of turned out and simplified a bit, despite Jane's chagrin. Yeah, so process-wise, this is constructional veneer laminations. I've had to build out female and male molds just to make sure I've got fully clamp pressure around the whole thing. Despite that, there's one or two cracks which kind of showed up where it hasn't been quite tight enough or the veneer hasn't been quite perfect. But you know, what can you do? Yeah, so a great majority of this project has actually been building the jigs. So I could have got them out, but they're kind of under all my other stuff, sadly. So you can kind of, I'm sure you guys have seen them, the massive MDF slabs. But yeah, so building out those molds has been interesting. I made sure to do my pieces oversized this way as much as possible because I knew there might be sections where it didn't quite sit right, and I'd have to trim them down and get them flattened off. So yeah, I ended up cutting them at 60 wide on the veneers. Then I've trimmed it up with a grinder, run over the jointer, and then Mike very kindly used his router cutter. So I was able to use a wider bed on the router and basically just cut it nice and flush. There's still one or two bits which need a bit of work, so I'm going to be running it over running it through the drum sander. But yeah, it's kind of resulted in these. I'm pretty stoked with them. Yeah.
What's the final width now?
So 45 by 45. Yeah. So yeah, in terms of like the thickness of the veneer stacked, you kind of have to do it from the jump. It has to be right, because if you don't get it right, then the molds don't work properly, and you get really bad glue ups. So yeah, it's quite interesting. I had to wait to make my female sides of the molds until I had the stock, because I had to make sure I was fully compressing all the veneers together to get that final measurement, and then I could offset it to get that female mold. Yeah, so 45 by 45. Yeah. And, any questions? I'm not sure. Yeah.
So is there a way to fix any of the minor gaps between the...
Yeah, so I'm going to be using a bit of glue and sawdust. Is it DevCon?
Yeah. I mean, they really are sort of hairline by the time
in the grand scheme
puts that in and then sands it, you're going to be hard pressed to
It really
spot
does
it.
look really clean, doesn't it, as a lamination?
But it does look like,
Yeah.
the trouble is when you're buying construction veneer, decorative veneer is obviously the best grade, construction is then a grade below.
Yeah.
So the surface finish is sometimes not perfect. So you can imagine all of those layers, you only have to have one or two sheets where it's not quite a consistent thickness, and doesn't matter how good your mould is, you're going to have some sort of gap. And if you go and look closely, that's what they are.
Yeah.
I don't think it's to do with pressure. I think it's to do with the oblique.
Yeah.
Is the constructional cut on the same machine as the decorative bits changed? It's often quite a bit rougher, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. No, it is, but the timber itself is not a higher grade.
You can get sawn construction, which is
Yeah.
literally just cut with a bandsaw and sanded.
Oh, really?
I've had to do that for a previous project.
So that's right.
So a lot of makers, some makers will make their own constructional. But if you think about it, you've got the thickness of the bandsaw blade you're using, plus another half mil on the sander. So for you to get your consecutive grain, it's not as good as you buying that where it's just been sliced with a knife. So Cam's basically put all those consecutive leaves together, and if the joints are really good, you should see all the grain all matches up so that it will look like it's solid.
I have done like shop sawn veneers for a previous project. It didn't look quite as clean as this, but what I actually did is I set up a jig on a sliding table saw so that both faces were clean off the rip, so I could glue it straight away. So you only lost the width of the blade. So with like an arrow, it's like a bit less. It's like 2 mil lost, I think, between each thing, rather than like 5-ish. You know, once you go through like the sawing and through the drum sander. Yeah.
What was your starting point? Like the very beginning?
Yeah, so my starting point was Joe Walsh. So I quite liked his sort of lamination stuff. Just sort of jammed around on Pinterest and found a bench that was sort of similar to this. I was initially hoping just to do 3 points of contact, but just with the way that I wanted it, having your weight over this side here, having that extra leak is just going to add a lot more stability to it. So yeah, Joe Walsh is the inspiration, and from that point I started just experimenting with decorative veneer, just because I knew it'd been where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
So it's a bit less like that now, where I've had to use jigs, I think, just to get it a bit stronger where I'm wanting it. But that final lamination is going to be coming up and around down through here. Is going to be very freeform, and I should hopefully just kind of hug the piece and get it all.
Yeah. Do you want to show us your practice piece over there?
Which one? Oh yes, yeah. So this is a bit more janky. This shows you what what happens when you don't put it in a mold. So I just did this with just a female mold and then some really janky clamps around it. If you just want to pass it around.
Again, it's a mock-up, it doesn't really matter if
Yeah.
the joints aren't perfect, but as you're now finding out, it just helps you visualise what it is you're trying to do.
For sure, yeah. So I found that quite interesting. It sort of let me know, okay, this could look good shaped this way. I could play with like the thickness like this, or like even cutting into it to add a wiggle like that. So it sort of informed me also for joints as well. Like if there's like two scooping together, you can do a bit of fiddling just to help it flow together a bit more.
What's the plan for joining?
So right now it's just pretty simple. So this has been just dominoed together. Luckily, the way that I've done it is it's pretty much on a perfect 45 to get that. So I was just able to set up the router with a 45 cutter and just work my way through. So I've got a nice flat surface, chuck a 45 on the domino and was able to buzz in. I think I've got 4 dominoes in there. But I may eventually bring that 45 a bit more so it becomes a bit more solid as one piece rather than just being butted up against each other. But what my plan is currently is to basically get it bolted together so I can see the piece as a whole. So once I've done all the jointing, I can see, okay, I want this area to be a bit thinned out, I want this to be like this, and I'm able to do the shaping, so I can see it as a product and then see if there's sections that need to be thinned out. So I was chatting with Justin about this the other day. So with this armrest lamination here, it's quite chunky, and what we discussed is getting it attached, and then there's always the option to actually start whittling away at it, so bringing it down and then doing the final lamination over the top, so it would hide the kind of slicing through the different lamination layers, and it would just make it look like one clean piece of lamination on the outside again.
Mm.
How are you making the seat?
The seat, so the plan is currently, it's going to be a honking big bit of ash, and I'm hoping to use the CNC basically because I haven't used it before, and it's going to be carved. There's going to be a relief on the side, so it will help with, it's going to be quite thick, but then the actual seat section, which is about over here, is going to have a relief carved down into it, because my worry with this piece is right now it's quite strong because it's really thick, but if it does narrow down, then two people, may be encouraged to sit on it, but really it's supposed to be just for one person. So that location, or so the location of that
The
recess.
romance has just gone out of it. I'm like,
This is a selfish fella's seat, just plotting like in the hallway.
yeah.
So the relief is going to be cut in here, and basically it's going to be, you're planting yourself right here, don't sit down this narrow section here,
That's where
you don't want to, and don't share. Which is also why, if I just quickly rotate up this way, the seat is shaped a bit like an apostrophe. So if you just want to take a little squiz, it basically means that there's like a thin narrow point coming down to this end. It makes the chair look complete, looks whole, but you're not really going to want to sit on this section because it's about this wide. So yeah, that's kind of the design thought, to strongly encourage you to sit on that side of it, which is also where that extra support is for your weight.
How much do you think you'd like to shape those laminations, as in?
The laminate, yeah. So at the moment, I'm leaning towards minimal, just because I'm starting to really love how it looks. But always got to consider it, right? It may be that the piece needs lightening up because right now it's looking very robust. It would be interesting just to see what it looks like more as a whole, especially with that thick lamination for the armrest. I may even do it in sectional parts, so I may do like 2/3 of it being glued up, as Justin suggested, so that I can see how it looks as a thinner piece, and if I'm not happy with that, then I can go back and then glue on that final layer, reusing the same jig. Yeah. So I think there's plenty of options, like time-wise, where I've got like heaps of places I can stop and be like, okay, I want to pivot towards this section, or I want to change the shaping. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else.
Is it designed more as an upright seat or a lounging seat?
Oh yeah, so a bit more upright, but in terms of this armrest, I do want to have slight shaping where it can be used a bit more like a 45 kind of chaise position, which is why this kind of section of the relief in the seat will actually have a bit of an angle on it, so your legs have a bit of a way to sit inside that teardrop shape, so you kind of get cups by it, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't go like massively leaning back on it, but I think with the laminations and the dominoes and like the gas mic, there is that option to use it as a lounge as well as like a bench. Yeah.
You can just sell it, or is it for you?
I'm hoping to sell it. Definitely want to try recoup the cost of materials at least, because just in terms of the laminations, it's going to be around like I think about 600 quid already. Yeah, and then I've got all the MDF and stuff as well to tally up, so it's going to be very expensive. But then again, if I ship the pieces, like all the jigs back home, then I have the option to do it again and again. It's way cheaper. Just building out the jigs is like the expensive part of it. Yeah.
On that point of the jigs, did you design your jigs
based on this design, or did you design them based on like I could use them again for a different project? Because they're great, obviously
For
great
sure,
jigs, and like,
yeah.
we've got great results from them, and
Exactly.
they're quite a usable shape.
Yeah, that's the
So-
one. Like initially, it's a bit more like for this project, but I can definitely see the value with it. Like even just like changing this here,
Yeah.
it's a whole new bench. It's like a corner location, nice little suite. You know, lamination up like that.
Yeah.
There's like plenty of
So
possibilities. Exactly,
Yeah.
like glass tables, stuff like that, which is all.
Good dining table with longer legs.
Mm,
Legs that just lengthen out the.
yeah, you can just lengthen out the jig.
Are you enjoying the process enough to think that you'd be up for making another one?
For sure, like I've done a piece like this before. It's just cost-wise, right? Because the likelihood is back home I'll probably have to shop saw my own veneers.
Because there's nowhere to buy it.
Yeah, or just like the supply is just nowhere near as
Okay.
good as it is here. I might have to import.
Yeah.
Which like if it's for a client and it's on commission, then definitely you can just out charge it.
Yeah.
So I would definitely love to make more pieces like this for sure. That's kind of where I'm at design wise.
Nice.
That's culture. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really good. And sorry, just another quick one. So again, saying that the outcome so far is brilliant. But would you change anything in your process to like in terms of what you've done so far?
Yeah,
Or are you pretty kind of happy with the way that things have come out?
for sure.
Making and designing, I suppose.
Yeah, it's been somewhat straightforward, I think. Picking up my skills with CAD with Ollie's been really helpful actually, just to actually visualize it, because the first attempt I made, like CADing this up, was janky as, like it was horrible. But then as I've gone a bit better, I've been able to adjust, like right now I'm trying to decide what shape, as bad as it is to say, what shape I want that armrest to be. So when I've actually kind of jigged this up, I've realised this is quite pointy, and as Jen has pointed out, it might not exactly match the rest of the piece, where these are like really consistent curves. That kind of narrower shape might not fit exactly, which is I'm kind of landed at a point where I'm not super happy with the old one, but the new one doesn't quite feel right, so it'll be like an in-between.
Yeah.
So I'll just keep tweaking that jig to get that lamination right. Yeah.
So that's your plan with this back
Mhm.
rest.
Yeah.
Is literally just kind of like lay on, clamp it up, see what it
Yeah,
looks
see,
like,
see how it looks, yeah.
add in supports where you need it, and so on and so on.
That's it, yeah, because process-wise, it's just like such a complex piece to draw up in CAD. Like, CADing's helped me visualize. Like, I'd be hard pressed to want to draw it, because
Yeah.
like I've changed the design so many times, where it's just constantly seeming to evolve. And like even like seeing it in CAD is like really close, but like, you know, seeing it in person is a completely different thing. Like the way it interacts with the space, you know, how like the laminations look in real life compared to just on the screen is so different. So yeah, overall it seems to be a very evolving
Yeah.
kind of design as I go along, which I don't hate, but also isn't very financially great, you know. So with a client, say if I was doing this like as a commission, I'd definitely have to factor in, okay, there's actually going to be quite a bit of design time,
Yeah.
and that design time's also going to continue throughout the process. I found myself hemming and hawing quite a bit. Like the other day when Will suggested, oh, why don't you do like a laminated seat and then like a material on it, I got thrown through a loop there. I've come back to the right side where I want to go solid, but
Basically,
I
don't
do like
offer
it.
any suggestions ever.
That's it. Yeah, don't
not
feel
helpful.
that, yeah. My opinion is the correct one.
Yeah, if you're
Good.
consulted,
Well
you
done,
can offer
Yes,
opinions,
exactly.
otherwise.
Be
Exactly.
authoritative.
In terms of jigs, is the male female for these,
Yeah.
which has all been the same one, right?
Mhm.
No,
two,
that's
two.
no, it's two, because
So
it's the
these
wider,
two, yeah,
that's
these
one
two,
and that's the
yeah.
second.
That's it. Yeah.
This one you're doing with just a much,
Yeah,
Opposite
much
you've
more
got-
loose. Yeah.
it's framed either side and
For
then
sure.
you've got a mould inside.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was initially planning to do this with a sock on it and a vacuum going on, but in terms of how much pressure that's actually adding and how complex it'll make the glue up. I was chatting with Justin, and he reckons if we chuck in a male mould here for it to wrap around and then like
And
have
against,
backing,
yeah.
so there'll be like 2 or 3 layers of flexi-ply on the other side to make sure I don't add flat spots, and basically just a ridiculous amount of clamps across
That's
the whole
just giving
thing.
you your like,
Yeah.
like your width of that.
For sure, yeah, it's just been like, I've chucked down a rod of what that side looks like, and I can be like, okay, I want this to hit this point here, this height here, that has to meet this back here, and then how do I kind of manipulate it within those parameters.
But actually, otherwise in jig terms, it's not actually that complicated. It's
No,
just the large
yeah.
male female molds, and then
Yeah, that's it, it's just time consuming. Yeah. And then, of course, every time you make a decision after building the jigs, it's happened once before, it's a bit of a waste of time and materials, but it's all worth it for the creative process.
and the veneers, the what
The
the thickness.
1.2, I think. So there's about whatever 45 divided by 1.2 is. It's a lot of veneers. And then keeping them all in order and stuff, or at least the bundles in order with themselves. Yeah, it's been interesting. Lots of tape. Yeah. Any other questions?
Very informative.
But,
Got it.